Hello there, blade fans. This old sword's back with you once again. And remember some time ago, I picked this knife up and I called it my Grail. It was one that I finally found at a local gun shop. Couldn't find it online or anywhere else at the time. And this is, of course, the original Stitch, a Borka design. And this is an automatic knife, as you obviously just saw, with a large plunge lock and built like the proverbial tank. Everything about this knife is overbuilt, oversized, including the stop pins, the pivots, what have you. It's an aluminum handle with some traction built in here in the form of these little diamonds that sort of look like tri-wings, and I'll show you more about that in a moment. Remember those old tri-wings that they are still using on some of the Microtech knives where you need a $100 wrench in order to break it down? Well, there's torques on this one, and I'm not going to spend too long on this one because the review is really about akin to this knife. But I do love this knife. This is the Borka Stitch. I believe it's, well, I can't remember the fella's name, and Borka, right? It's a Borka design. Well, Sebastian Berengi was the name I was looking for, and I had to cheat. And this Stitch is the development of a fixed blade knife that Borka had out for quite some time. And you can find those on, I'm looking them up, Borka Blades. It's the SB1. A distinctive name I couldn't remember. So this is the folding version, really, of Borka's SB1. You can still get those for about $4.20. They're made by Fox, and it's a very nice knife. Not sure, which of those I like the best. He makes some other ones. I've got a dagger by him. I think it's the SBD for D for dagger, marketed by Microtech. Anyway, I said I wouldn't spend too long on this, and here I am spending a long time on it. Well, we're going to fade this one away and bring this one in. That's what you came for. That's what the party's about. It is the RAM-LOK version of the proverbial Microtech Stitch, a Borka design. And we've got lots of interesting details on this knife, not the least of which is that it is their take on a lock bar knife, and it is called the RAM-LOK. So far, I did the review on the MSI, which is the Microtech. If I say Microsoft, it's because I've been in technology a long time. Microtech, it is their version of the bar lock, and it is called the RAM-LOK. So what we've got, if I can get a little more cogent here, somehow I do better in the mornings. I think the brain's a little more awake in the morning than it is, and this is early afternoon. But there you have your spring. It's like a plunger here, and this slides over the tang of the knife, and it slides over quite a bit, so the amount of engagement is very great, meaning you have an extremely secure lockup. Now, already there are people out there since the RAM-LOK came out saying they've defeated the RAM-LOK, it's no good. They did the RAP test and it just collapsed right away. Man, I don't get that. It's not happening for me. I don't go out in the woods and beat on my knives. If I do, it's going to be a heavy duty fixed blade. And there's something about a folding knife. Oh yeah, it folds. How much pressure is it supposed to be able to take on the back of the blade? Look, There may be some circumstances under which some of you did need to have that knife hold up and it didn't. Hopefully not this one or the MSI or the RAM-LOK series. I'm finding them extremely robust. In fact, I just got in the injection molded version of the MSI. I'm going to show you guys that in a few days. And that I'm really considering that as my EDC, all around EDC, because it's a little lighter weight than the G10. So what we've got here is milled G10 with a frag pattern. The originals on, I don't know about these, but the originals on the MSIs did not have the frag pattern. It was more or less smooth. I like what they did here with the jimping right up into the finger choil. A lot of people will look at this knife and say, yeah, you've lost all of the blade and the edge, and it's a big knife, but you know, there's not a lot of blade left after they're all done with, you know, you got a big handle and so on and so forth. Hey, I love this. I think what he did with the ergos is great. You can palm it. See that roundness to that back of that knife? You can palm it here and have basically kind of a gun stock pistol grip, that is, sort of a thrusting implement if you need it that way, and you've got plenty of reach. If you come up a little bit, you've got this hold, right? And you got much more of the handle, and believe me, this is solid. This is secure in my hand. Then, if you want to choke up, this is what everybody wants to do, and yes, it's naturally made for it, is the pinch grip in here. And now you've got a knife for detail work, any kind of detail, or you've got that kind of detail work. It's just an amazing knife. Very large thumb or finger hole. Roll it out easily. Flip it back. It is a fidgety knife. You can use 2 fingers on the release. You can use 1 on the release. You can use 1 to bring it out and 1 to bring it back. It is a little harder with 1 finger. My thumbs aren't the strongest. Arthritis and whatnot. You can middle finger flick it. It does take a little bit of wrist to, not much really, to middle finger flick it. Very easy though, I find. Thing is, there's not a sharp break on any of these bar locks. See, it's a soft tension. It's not an instant break. And no, there is no chatter in there. None that I'm noticing. I think if I hit it, it bounces a little bit, which is why you hear a little chatter maybe. That's what they call blade lash, right? I was looking for the term. Beautifully centered blade. These are going for about $300 directly from Microtech. And you will find them at places like NC Blade, Southern Edges, I believe Tactical Elements. Those are some of the people I deal with. They're not yet, and I don't know if they ever will be carried necessarily at White Mountain. So when I give you links, it's going to be to where I got it, which is directly from Microtech. If you don't find any out there, they do a Tuesday drop. And also some of the other dealers do their own individual drops. Clip is more or less deep carry, not as deep carry as on the MSI, but we'll take a look at that comparison in a moment. We have some good healthy screws that have, I'm going to get the set out, so 1 second. Okay, so got a couple of WIA bits out here. This one is a T20. Yep, and I believe that's what it was on the MSI as well. So T20 for the pivot. And this one is a T8, and the body screws should be, and they are, T8s. Really tight fit too. Not tight as in you got to push it in and it won't come out, but snug, which is good because you're not going to chew up your screws that way. So this is G10. I don't believe they have yet come out with the molded polymer polymer version in the stitch they have in the MSI. And again, that's a future video, not too far off. We've got the double clip. A lot of people have complained about this, what's the purpose, so on and so forth. And we do have some screws that are raised up fairly high. I'm told because of the threading and type of the screws that Microtech has to use these screws. There are no flat-headed screws available, but they're investigating it. So we've got a very high riding clip, meaning it is tall. We've got lots of space for fabric in there, so I really haven't noticed too big a problem getting this in and out of the pocket. But the purpose, again, is that this dent here will clinch onto your pocket at one depth, leaving this much out. And then if you want to seat it all the way in, you can have almost on this one a deep carry clip. There's your plate on the other side. Remove those screws, put the clip over there, switch the plate over to this side, and you're all set. So relatively easy switch around for you lefties. Beautiful titanium backspacer with a very lugged sort of jimping on there. Very nice. Just enough traction should you need that in your palm. And what else we got? Well, there's a lanyard slot in the very end of the back strap, backspacer, and these beautifully machined releases for the RAM-LOK. Again, easy to open it that way. And again, I'm trying it one finger. Let's go two fingers. Let's get some space first. Then we're going to do some measurements. So out it goes, and back it goes. Out it goes, and back it goes. That easy. Very smooth if you want to just thumb it out. All right, well, it's measurement time. We measured the torques. Now we're going to measure the outer dimensions of the blade. And when I say blade, I mean the whole knife. 8.5 inches, maybe a skosh more. Call it an 8.6 overall. And we're going to call that a 3.7 overall on the blade. And what do we got? Inches. Not going to be real thin. It's a manly knife, so you've got a manly amount to hold on to, 0.58. And we've got good stock on the blade, 0.15, which should be 4 millimeters. Yep, 4 millimeters. And the weight, not particularly light. One thing you're going to notice when I do the review of the FRN handled, injection molded handled of the MSI is that it is definitely lighter than the G10. But here we've got almost 6 ounces, 5.96, okay? Not a terrible pocket anchor, but not a little lightweight, put it in your swim trunks type of a knife either. It feels solid. It feels robust. It feels like a tool. It's one thing about this series and all of the Microtech knives, they feel like high-end tools. A lot of other people have tried to replicate it, but, you know, it's tough. Especially when I say at this price point, $300, it certainly seems like a lot if you're buying budget knives for $40, $50, $60. And I'm not putting that down. I've got plenty of those. But this thing just speaks quality. And for some, it's a little overdone. They may feel, you know, there's too many millings and carvings and whatnot on this knife. But for me, that's my bailiwick. I like this style of knife. Here it is again, up against the original Auto. And I would say that it looks like the Auto, it's coming in a little longer. Didn't think it was, but the Auto, what did I say, 3.7? Yeah, this is maybe About the same. Yep, right about the same. Cutting edge a little over 3 inches. Overall length, 8.5. What do we got here? Yeah, the same. Why does it look bigger? Maybe just my perspective. Maybe I didn't have the handles lined up. So, interesting. Maybe a longer handle. Could be. Should we stack them? Yeah, why not? Scratch City. Yeah, they're identical. Yeah, we're going to have to call them identical. Anyway, what you get here is the same hole, even though it's an auto, and you don't need the hole. I think the hole is probably vestigial from the manual knife when Borka turned that out. Here we have a texture kind of milled into the aluminum. I'm not going to measure the screws, but they look the same as far as the pivot and the body screws go. I think they replicated that. We've got kind of a faint gray billboarding and more of it here. M390, and this, by the way, is the M390MK Microtech knives. Slightly, ever so slightly different. Special made for them by Bowler. Good grip from this frag handle here. Great grip up here. We do have some even heavier jimping. I didn't notice it before up in here. This is a little smoother, a little more rounded over. And this has a little more bite to it. And we have that sharpening choil right there. We do not have the sharpening choil on this one. Obviously, I haven't mentioned it yet, but I selected the semi-serrated version because for me, I feel, particularly in a manual knife that I'm going to be carrying a bit more, I like having that ability to cut things that edges will normally slide off of, such as marine rope, strapping, things like that, that you know, even when your knife is sharp, that it slides because it's a hard substance, doesn't have any porosity to it, doesn't give the edge a chance to get started. That's where these come in. Not to mention that in a tactical situation, these have no problems biting through clothing and everything else. Okay, the skin of the pig, by the way, yes. Beautiful, beautiful RAM-LOK knife. Here it is, up against the MSI that I reviewed. Now the MSI will be longer, as you can see. So if we stack them and get the end pretty close there, you can see we've got close to about a ½ inch longer on the MSI. So overall length on the MSI is 9 inches, just ever so slightly shy of 9 inches. Whereas here, yeah, a little over 8.5. So close to a ½ inch difference overall. With the blades, not that much different. So the blade on this guy is just shy of 4 inches, like a 3.9. So a little bit longer. Does it make a difference? I don't think so. Got a piercier point here. Got more of a sheep's foot going on here, but that point can still work for you. And that point certainly can cut. Very similar to a Wharncliffe. Very similar to like a Yojimbo 2, you know, but with a little bit more useful belly. Handle, same on this as the stitch, except we got the clip going deeper. There you go. You see, less of the end of the handle protruding above that clip than on the stitch. Quick compare with Rat 1. Why not? And it's coming in, it's just edging out by maybe a 1/4 inch. They're at 1. That would be about right. And compares to Griptilian, butt to butt. And it's about 1/2 inch or so longer than the Griptilian. Not a whole lot of difference, less than you would think. There you go. Do I have paper? Hate to feed the stitch scrap paper, but I'm going to. Got to go through the waste basket here. Going to use the smooth edge, obviously. Oh, wow. What an edge Microtech puts on it. Oh, it's one of the sharpest knives I've tested lately. Look at that. Just, oh, man. And is it piercing? Oh, you know it. God, it's piercing. How about the... Well, these guys cut too. Oh my God. Oh, we could have fun just doing cutting tests all day long with this stitch RAM-LOK. Let me know what you think. I'm loving it. I love this and the MSI. And one more RAM-LOK review coming up, as I said, which is going to be on the injection molded version of the MSI. You should be seeing that one fairly soon after this one. Well, take care, be well, and don't forget to give this video a like and subscribe. I will be back soon.